Okay, welcome to day 4. For those of you that are following along, in this video, we're going to talk about packaging and pricing. We did do a third, the one before this was on offer, so a lot of videographers struggle with this. So I really need you to get some pens, some paper out. Now, we've been having some mic issues. I'm in Greece at the moment. I've been trying to get this recording done for you as much as I could, and I just keep having to restart it. So I'm just going to power through this. This is raw. This is, as I said, there's no production value in these videos. These videos are just getting what's inside my head to you as best as I possibly can. These are some of the notes from myself. These are notes from my team that have worked with me in production, that have seen this in action in real life. And so I'm going to be going through this and hopefully dropping one thing for you, just one thing out of this for your packaging and pricing and your positioning of how you can take this and start charging more. Okay, and start getting yourself situated as a videographer, as a filmmaker. Doesn't matter if you're an editor or a creative director, whoever you are watching this. You know, my main goal for this series is to help one family. Okay, that needs the help. Okay, that truly needs the help and needs to sort of get themselves out of the hamster wheel of just living project to project and living in a very, very sort of stressful life. We need more creative people feeling joyful. We need more creative people feeling good about their work, all right? And that is my whole mission with what we do in the consulting business, also what I do here online. It's really just helping creative people transition from being a creative but turning into a creative entrepreneur. Now, I'm in the back streets of Greece, okay, on some island called Nexus, and I'm telling you, like, there's cats going past, there's Italians, they're very passionate, they may scream, maybe have some audio interruptions, but let's just dive straight in and get through this, okay, because I want to give you this value, okay? So today, I'm just checking this mic because it might go off. If it goes off, it goes off. I'm going to make me a bit smaller. Put me up here. Okay, so today what we're going to talk about is how I'm pricing myself at 20 to 50K, okay? Day 3, let's just reflect quickly on day 3. Day 3 was about shifting from selling videos to 50K visual growth systems. We talked about stop selling bricks. So if you haven't seen this video, please go back, one-off videos, and start selling bridges. So the concept is a brick is part of the bridge. Rather than sell them just a brick, sell them a bridge solution. Sell them something much bigger, okay? So stop selling bricks, sell bridges. How to use a pre-mortem to spot weak points before they sink the deal. So that's basically looking at what could go wrong, what is the things that clients need. So for instance, giving them a video without traffic is a pretty poor thing to do. I found that once I gave them a 90-day media buying sprint alongside of their video, that really, really helped, okay? How to build an offer roadmap so clients can see clearly, certainly, and results, not just deliverables. And so today what we're going to be talking about is high-value offers. We're going to be talking about offer I designed yesterday and learning how to package and price it in a way that commands 20 to 50K and beyond. Most people, most filmmakers, videographers in the creative space get stuck here because they ask, what should I charge for a brand story? Or what should I charge for my day rate? What should I charge for color grading? What should I charge for this, that, and the other? And that is the wrong question to ask, right? This damn mic, I just want to make sure this mic doesn't go off because I'm not fucking re-recording this. So hopefully the audio is coming through because I know that's one thing that really annoys me on YouTube. So most people get stuck here. The truth, there is no fixed price. Pricing is contextual. It's perception driven, and it's tied to the value and input and output. Sorry, it is tied to the impact and the outcome, which in turn really just means value you create. It's not the hours you work or the camera you use. The goal isn't to nickel and dime like a freelancer. It's to position yourself as a premium creative partner where your price reflects the transformation, not the time. Now, don't get so caught up in the transformation. You're not a fairy godmother, and you're not some person with magical, mystical powers that's going to transform somebody's life. And this is one of the biggest things that scares you from pricing yourself based on outcomes and impacts, is because you've never truly taken the time to really consider what does your work actually do for people. Why? We're too scared to ask. We hide behind the camera because we don't want to be held responsible for, we're going to make you $1 million. We're going to make you this. We're going to make you that. We're like, nah, fuck that. We're just going to say, look, we've got a day rate. We've got a camera. We've got great vintage lenses that you can barely get anywhere. We've got a certain look and style of what we do. And that's what you're getting. The rest is up to you and your marketing team. There is a problem in that, okay? The problem is that most filmmakers price their own wallet with this concept, okay? This is one of the major problems. You might think it's expensive to spend $100,000, but for some people, right, they will spend $10K on a bottle of wine. You don't know their situation, but you're pricing from your pocket. Stop doing that, because you don't know. Like, if a brand is making about $5 million in revenue, it's very sort of not. It's not unusual for them to spend $250,000 on like their visual storytelling and positioning and branding and the stories that come out of their sort of brand, because it helps create emotional connection. It helps them position themselves as a differentiation point of view from their competitors. It gets them out of the commodity trap. These are things that we need to stop doing, is looking at that is expensive because I only spent a day on it, or I only spent 2 weeks on it. Just stop doing that. That is killing your bank account and your family's bank account. So the family that's listening to me, the one I'm trying to reach, stop doing that. For all the rest of you that are just taking notes and just laying in bed and on your mobile phone, just like literally just seeing if I say anything, that sort of thing. I'm not talking to you. I'm literally talking to that person that's actually sat at his computer, writing notes down, trying to get his family out of that, the up and down roller coaster. Just stop doing that, because that will be killing you, okay? They confuse price with value. Price is just a number, it's subject. Value is the outcome. So what would you pay for a bottle of water? And this is a great concept. So from your tap, it's free. You're not going to pay. It's not that big of a deal. At a grocery store, it's $2, right? Here in Europe, it's even cheaper. At a sports game, you're probably paying like $5 to $8, right? It's getting a little bit more expensive, but you still pay it because you probably have to line up, you want to get it, etc., etc. And it's not that convenient to get it from, say, the 7-Eleven. Depends where you are, but typically not. But if you were in the middle of the desert and you hadn't drank anything for 2 days, it's pretty much priceless. You pay anything, right? If you were boiling hot and you really needed that water, again, it really comes down to perception. It comes to the environment. It comes to the amount of pain that the client is in and how much they need to get out of that, right? That's something to think about. So the problem as well, you usually get stuck in the inputs. Again, this is creative technician versus the outcome. You fall into the human tripod showing up as just another camera operator. If you look and sound like everyone else, clients just treat you as replaceable. And that is something that we talked about in video 2, which is about being a specialist, specific person to a specific problem to a specific outcome. This is how we get specialized. This is how we become premium. This is how we become a rarity. This is how we become someone that isn't every day specializing in this particular thing that you do, right? So going after a person with a specific problem, with a specific solution, is a very powerful act to do. Okay, so the fastest way out is to niche down, craft and craft a clear methodology. This is a little bit like KFC with their recipe. It's worth billions, right? And they say it's got out. I don't know if that's true. I don't know much about it, but it's like that. It's like how you put things together, how you make things is really, really important. Okay, so this is pretty much how we're going to get out of just being the creative technician and the human tripod and just selling pixels and waveform. Like, we don't want to be doing that, okay? So why this matters: clients don't buy deliverables. They buy certainty, risk reduction, and transformation. Again, don't get too caught up in the word transformation, but they do want a transition. They want to see that your work is having an impact on their bottom line, on their status as a company, their perceived value so they can charge more, their differentiation. They want speed of just speeding up their whole sales cycle, by putting very clever psychological driven stories together that make people buy in a lot faster. That is a transformation. It's considered a transformation. So we want to focus on them things. Okay. So expert iron ore grinder breaks down, costing a company tens of thousands by the minute. Expert marks one spot with chalk, tells them to strike it and replace a $25 cog. The machine roars back to life. The invoice, $100,000. Breakdown: $1 for the chalk, $25 for the cog, and $9,999 for knowing where to hit. It's funny, but it's true. And it happens a lot. Gail, I can tell you a story about a dentist, right? I don't know the full story. I can't remember. I wish I'd have written this down. But basically, like, there was a guy had a really bad toothache. It was so bad. He was in excruciating pain. Rang the dentist. Can you do it? He said, yep, 2,500. He's like, what? How long is it going to take you to do? He said, it'll take me 30 seconds to do. He's like, 30 seconds and you want 2,500? He said, yeah, but like we can do it Thursday and it'll cost you like $250. It'll cost you way cheaper. And it's like, it goes back to the desert example. Like, how much pain, what is their environment? What are they going through? How do they perceive you? I mean, obviously the guy got it done straight away and paid the 2,500 because he wanted the pain. He wasn't going to last till Thursday. Now, different situations will apply to different clients, and it depends again on who you're talking to, the specific person, specific problem. Obviously, if the problem is big that you solve, the bigger the problem you solve with a creative solution, the more you're going to be able to charge. Okay, so think about that when you're putting together your offer. Another thing that I wanted to share with you, this is Banks there. Shredded painting sold for $23 million, not because of the paint canvas, not because of the paint canvas, but because of the story, positioning, and cultural meaning. So they're not selling, the paper and the color and the pen, which a lot of you guys are doing. Stop doing that. Okay. In the same way, your work isn't just a video; it's a brand story. It's authority and growth, all of which compound value far beyond the raw footage. Okay. When you shift from pricing from hours to outcome, your perceived value skyrockets. Now, look, I'm doing all this for my business, right? I'm building my production as an example to build it up in 30 days so that I can get this out into the market so I can start targeting clients, and we know who I've picked. And then obviously you've seen in the previous video, this somewhat of the offer that I put together. That's still under work and under development. And like, I'll do 5 projects under that sort of aiming for a moon landing on a star by collecting insights to understanding what is working for the client, so then I can discard the things that are not needed and increase the things that are needed, or amplify the things that were working, right? So my approach, packaging and pricing, isn't just about what you include. It's about how you frame, position, and anchor your value so clients see that you as a premium choice. This is what I want. I want to be seen as a premium choice. Here's the process I use to build offers with filmmakers in clout, helping them close premium budgets, but also to build my new agency offer. So the first thing, number 1, understanding how clients buy. We need to understand the psychology of it. Clients always weigh the benefits they expect against the cost they pay. If the benefit feels bigger than the cost, they'll buy. If not, they'll store. And like, I'm going to talk about when we get into the sales point, one of the worst places you can ever be, and the most time-saving, draining, the most fear-based place you could ever be, is in the gray area. Like, the gray area is the worst place to be, because they don't say yes but they don't say no. So they just leave you hanging. The reason they're doing that is just because they do not feel the benefit is bigger than what it's costing them. This is why trying your offer to outcome, more leads, better hires, stronger authority, makes the cost look small by comparison. So if you're talking about this visual growth system is going to help generate more conversions, help you with the sales team, you've discovered they want to get to $100 million, this will definitely assist. These are things that you want to be focusing on, rather than I'm going to shoot this on an Epic Red, I'm going to shoot this on vintage lenses, I'm going to use this particular color sequence, I'm going to this particular color grade, and like, all that is fantastic, and that can be added in as bonuses and stuff like that. Yes, mention it, especially if you're working with an agency and that specific person you're working with and you want to help them. But ultimately, brands don't really care about the color grading or anything. Obviously, they want a feeling and they want a look and everything else, but the biggest thing they want is the outcome. So value, not cost. Clients rarely choose the lowest price. They choose what feels like the safest and smartest option. Think about it. When a business is betting on a campaign, the worst outcome isn't paying more, it's paying less and failing. Now, there's the price they pay with you, right, which could be expensive, but they could be a cost, right? So let me explain it in a different way. Okay, so they could go with someone else that's cheaper than you, which they get a better price, but the cost is nothing works. And that could potentially in some cases, depending on who the person's working with, or who it is, that could cost them millions. That cost could be millions. Now, they could invest with you and pay a premium, but the investment and the return investment is going to be huge upside, right? So that's what you want to start training your brain to start thinking like. Okay, the video was thinking about the business is better campaign, worst outcome, premium pricing, offered, reliable, better strategy, trust. Okay, so value is relative. The same video can be worth 5K to one business and 50K to another. For a local gym, a 10% sale lift might mean a few extra members. For a national franchise, the same 10% could mean millions. And again, this is where obviously niching is really, really key. We want to make sure that when we do have an impact, one of their sales is huge. I always went for things like property developers and things that were selling, like coaches. I did a lot of time with coaches, right? And coaches typically go into rev share, right? And revenue share, particularly consultants, they will take 15% of the upside. So if they get a client and the client's doing really, really well, particularly, this one particular person doing like property, well, they're taking like 15%, or in some cases 50-50. Right, because they've got the strategy, they've got the contacts, etc., etc., etc. And so when they make a sale, they really make bank. And this is one of the smartest things you can do, is go after really good people. Specific problem, specific person, specific solution. Input pricing. So the three pricing models, and I just want to break this down. So just to really solidify where you could be at. Input pricing, what's your day rate? What's your rate? What it is, charging by the hour a day, like a plumber an invoice. It's just like an electrician, they give you an hourly invoice. This model screams commodity. You're literally selling time, not transformations. Clients see you as an interchangeable with any other videographer holding a camera. Again, you get that human tripod feeling, and the faster and better you get, the less you earn. Okay, because you're charging basically by the hour. So if you can do things really fast now, you're not getting any of that. So you're not really helping you. So why is it broken? No scalability, because there's only so many hours in a day. No leverage, no premium perception. It just keeps you in the human tripod category. And once clients think of you this way, they'll never pay the 20 to 50K, right? Output-based pricing. Number 2, how much would a brand story cost? What it is, it's basically building your work into a neat package. One brand video, 2 edits, 5 reels. The problem with this is it looks professional. It's better than obviously the first one, but it's just a fancier way of selling bricks. And we talked about bricks in the last video, bricks and bridges, right? You're selling an output, not an outcome. The moment someone else offers the same package for less, you're back to the race to the bottom, and that is not a good place to be. So why it's broken? You carry all the risk. Scope creep kills your profit, while the client still doesn't see you as a strategist. You've just put a price tag on a box of deliverables. You're just basically just doing like checklist, and the box are easy to compare and cheapen. Okay, because someone else will figure it out, and then they'll just do it for what you're doing. Now, value-based pricing is what this outcome is worth to you. Okay, so it's basically asking that question: what is this worth to you, client? It's the client, right? If I can get you to $100 million, what's that worth to you? Like, how important is that to you? What would that make you feel like? How things would change? What type of clients would you have? What kind of offices would you build? What would you do for the community? Like, it's different. Okay, charging based on transformation you create for the business, not the hours or the files. Why it wins? So that's what it is. Why it wins? It finally breaks you out of a vendor trap. You stop talking about videos and start talking about business outcomes, revenue, authority, hiring, growth. Clients aren't buying your time; they're buying certainty. Now, a lot of you will be saying to yourself, like, I don't know how I can do that. It's called an insight flywheel. It's basically collecting the things that work and positioning yourself so that you're focusing on that. And a lot of you do know how to do this. And a lot of you do have portfolios. You just don't look at it. One of the fastest ways to get a client an outcome is to concentrate on the way I did it was I would take an outcome that they wanted, right? Which could be conversion. It could be, I need them at this point of my sales journey or the sales cycle for them to feel this emotion. And I'll say, why? Because I want them to buy. Or they'll say that because they want them to buy. So I would build all the creative and reverse engineer everything that needed to be in that video to make that. And that's how you start aiming for the moon. That's how you start building more of a valuable service. This is one way to start doing it, right? Is to focus so much time and energy and effort into putting all your energy into the client's outcome, and to really give a fuck about that and think about it. And we've never been in a better time in history to be able to like work with like ChatGPT to get our ideas across. Like, this is what the client wants. What exactly do you think they need? That's one way of looking at it. But it's going to be the creative that's going to be the variable, especially if you're involved with things like ads. I spoke about that last time. It's like ads is a really powerful thing for you to be in. Okay, we'll keep going. So example, if your campaign helps a client add 250k new revenue, charging 50k is a no-brainer, 5x ROA investment. Certainly you're not a videographer, you're a partner who drives growth. Okay, so just to recap, input pricing keeps you broke, output pricing keeps you in a box and also puts you at risk because competitors can come through. Value-based pricing positions you as a premium and a trusted partner, right? Because they will sense that your product is very much driven for this. And especially if you build a nice creative intellectual property around that. What I mean by that is like a methodology around it, like a KFC recipe of how you do things, and then you can brand and package that. That's going to really, really help position you as like, fuck, person's not only special, they have a special recipe for this. This is very different to anything that I've ever experienced. And they will start to feel that this is all premium and all very packaged, really lovely. And especially if you start getting case studies, and this is something else that I want to slap all of you with, is that you've got to start collecting case studies. You've got to start showing proof that you are who you say you are. Especially if you're already like 8 years deep in. If you're my client ideal profile, you're a person that's stuck at between 5 and 15k, and at some point you're probably going to want to work with me, especially if you're following along. But a lot of you just like go from project to project, like a fucking surfer, like, you know, just smoking weed and just yeah, man, like just get the next project, like, and it's fine. But like, for those of you that actually want a better life and want some stability and want some security, like, you've got to start asking questions. You've got to start seeing what works. You've got to start analyzing yourself. You've got to start approaching yourself like a scientist, see your own self as a lab rat. That's actually like you're analyzing what is working, what is not. A lot of you are sitting on key parts of information that it would only take you about 5 emails and you would have a way better offer, even if you got negative back. It wouldn't matter, okay? So number 3, positioning and perspective. Your packaging isn't just what you include, it's how you frame it. Niche. You're not a videographer, you're a filmmaker who helps SaaS companies attract top talent. No, this is what we did in day 2. So just go back to day 2 on that. Method. I mean, if you guys are at this point, please don't just like go back, like, so that you can catch up if you haven't seen the rest of it. I don't know if YouTube is ever going to push me at all, but the very few people that do follow me, I know you guys need it the most, right? For those who are not, like, will not see it, but if you haven't gone to day 2, just go. Niching is important. Methodology, property framework, your system, make your boutique and hard to compare. Having a methodology is really powerful, right? It's going to basically set you up as, again, someone that does things in a very unique way. Personal brand, Spielberg versus kid with camera, right? You don't want to be the guy with the camera. Oh, I got this guy with a camera, he can help you. No, you want to be seen as a Spielberg. You want to be seen as someone that's a creative director. You want to be seen as someone that's respected for moving the needle, telling powerful stories. This is what your personal brand should be saying about you. The same pixels command different value. All right, and we'll talk more about that in day 5. Confidence, clients sense whether you believe in your work and in whether it's worth 20. Now, look, I'm telling you, your confidence and your calendar, the 2 C's, are connected to your bank account. I was very lucky in my early 20s. I got mentored by a guy that was like, for those of you who don't know, like he was doing about $40 million. And the first day he started mentoring me, he asked me, he said, can I see your calendar? And I said, why do you want my calendar? And he said, because I want to see how much money you're going to make next week. And from that day onwards, he taught me the value of having a full, healthy diary, having a really nice, healthy diary. It's really, really key and very, very important. The other thing is confidence. Confidence really is connected to your bank account. How you feel is what you perceive, and what you perceive is what they perceive. People feel what you feel. If you're lacking, they're going to feel the lack as well. So you have to somehow Your first person you're ever going to sell to is yourself. So having a strong sense of confidence around this is really, really key. I'm going to give you a couple of case studies just to hit this home. The big lesson: stop asking what's fair and start asking what's the transformation worth to them. The exact question is how Hormozi was able to have one of the most successful book launches in history. We're going to go through that. So here's a short and punchier version of Hormozi's case study, boiled down to the top line points so that you can use them as a jump off clues in your day 4 doc. Okay, so basically, like, case study 1, Hormozi, like, he was selling a book. I'm sure it was about $50 to $100, so $20 a book. And he went in the Guinness Book of Records and ended up doing $100 million in sales. That's what the word is on the street. Big thing. If you don't know who he is, just Google it. But he ended up doing a book launch, and he ended up selling a package. He packaged it into a 5,990. It was just genius what he did. Clever guy. Very, very clever. Very inspiring. A lot of entrepreneurs would have watched that and seen that and thought, whoa. He went in the Guinness Book of Records. You know, can you imagine in 24 hours closing 100 mil? See, here's what people bought. Why did it sell? So it wasn't just a book. It was access, it was exclusivity, and it was status. It felt like a consulting system, not a book. Okay, the perception: $20 book felt cheap. 6K bundle reframed as an event, not a product. Buyers became ambassadors, not just customers. The outcome: not pages. No one paid for the paper and ink. And please, please, please take note of this. They didn't pay for the paper and ink. They paid for the thing that was in it, what it did for them. They paid for transformation, clarity, scaling, and results. The launch itself proved the outcome. Takeaway: Hormozi didn't sell book, he sold a system, experience, and transformation. The 6K wasn't for books, it was for clarity, frameworks, credibility, association, and transformation, applying models to scale business. In other words, the impact, not the deliverables. The result: over 60 million. I think it was over 100 million. And he went into the Guinness Book of Records. But someone else can comment and quote down below. I'm going to talk about Apple now. So when Apple launched their iPhone in 2007, they didn't just sell a phone, they sold a seamless ecosystem and a status symbol and a transformation of daily life. I can't live without my phone. Although I think iPhone is like slipping at the moment, but when it launched, this is what it was about. Here's why people paid the premium when they first came out. It wasn't just a phone, it replaced the music player, digital asset, cameras, and internet devices, maps, everything. Apple's design, build, and premium material made it a lifestyle object. You know, Here's to the Crazy Ones. If you guys haven't seen that, oh my God. If you haven't seen Here's to the Crazy Ones from Apple, then you're not an artist. Joking, but just still look. I would look. Great sort of 60-second around storytelling and everything. They did it really well. More importantly, it was a gateway to Apple's ecosystem: Macs, iPad, iPods, iClouds, and services. Okay, so obviously they just put everything together. The perception: while competitors sold phones for $200 to $300, these exactly, Apple launched their phone for pretty much double the price. That price signaled exclusivity, positioned Apple as different from everyone other phone maker. Customers weren't buying circuits and glass; they were buying in status, identity, and belonging. Apple led in tier pricing: Standard, Plus, Max, Pro, and they also really clever. Like they were so smart. They did like a chain ladder. Like it was an iPod, then it went iPhone, then it went from an iPhone to Mac, and then from an iPad, and just they were very clever. You can learn a lot from Apple by just looking at this stuff. Anyway, the outcome: no one paid $599 from hardware specs. They paid for time, a faster, seamless user experience. Definitely easier for those Apple that are watching me. Apple's just easier. And it's hard to get away from as well, because I really wanted to go to that flip phone. It's just too difficult because I've got everything tied up in it, you know. Very clever. Again, it's lessons in that. Money, higher productivity, a single device replacing multiple gadgets, things like iPod when they did it. Freedom, always connected apps, simplifying life. Status, culture, owning the world's smartest phone. Okay. Apple keynote demo was the proof. Jobs collapsed a phone, an iPod, and an internet communicator into one revolutionary device. You know, Steve did great with what he did. It was very good. The ecosystem was designed really well. The UX was intuitive. Privacy and security, peace of mind, which is very big for a lot of reasons, like reducing risk This is one of them big key things: reducing risk, integration like cloud, making sure everything's together, support services, having that reliability, again, reducing risk. Okay, the value was never in the device alone. It was the ecosystem, it was the full thing. It was the bridge that they gave. It was a full bridge to their daily life. Cloud, photos, memories, business. It has everything. I mean, I run on my phone. I run 2 businesses. I'll be running potentially 3 businesses from an iPhone while I'm traveling. Okay, my iPhone is everything. If that went, there would be some serious things that would drop off, because it's a tool that I use that helps me make money, communicate with my family, make sure I'm connected. There's so much the value that it gives. It's not a brick to me, it's a bridge. Okay, so the takeaway: Apple doesn't sell phones, they sold systems and identity and ecosystems that locked in. They also reduced a ton of risk. Despite holding only 15 to 20% of market share, Apple captures 60 to 75. They basically, everyone's got an iPhone. Retention is over 90%. Customers are locked into their ecosystem, making the price irrelevant. And most people replace their phone every year. It's crazy. Okay, case study 2. I'm not going to go into this big, but basically this is about MBA. Costs 10 times more than any other program circulated. So you can get the same sort of education for $25K. The big thing with sort of Harvard MBA versus just normal, education, is that you're not buying lectures, textbooks, or you're buying the sort of the privilege, the network, the lifelong brand stamp of being in Harvard. Like companies like the fact that they're now employers is elevating their perceived value, that all our guys are from Harvard. Harvard is packaged in and entirely into an exclusive global system of CEOs, investors, and leaders. Okay, perception, it's premium. Okay, we need to be making sure that we are. I'm going to talk about like omnipresence tomorrow, and we're going to be on the next. If it depends on my internet, we're going to be talking about omnipresence in the next video, and about positioning and making ourselves look higher end and making ourselves feel a lot better. And I'm going to be showing you how I'm going to do it, because it's very different to the coaching to what I would do in production. It's just a different flavor, completely different, because it's a completely different thing I'm selling. So you can get an MBA at hundreds of schools for 20 to 50, but Harvard is only one of 12 schools that carry the Ivy Legal brand. The name of your resume signals trust, credibility, and instant authority. Price itself reinforces perception. If it is $250K, it must be premium. Okay, the outcome is basically no one pays $250K for a classroom notes. They pay for the time, faster track to leadership roles, money, access to higher salaries and opportunities, because people will take note of that. Freedom, career mobility options across industries, status. The Harvard brand is a lifelong asset to have on your resume. It's a powerful thing to do. Harvard's true product is the ROI of future opportunities, not the degree itself. That's why they charge a premium. Because of the name. They've done well, and this is what we've got to do. We've got to start packaging and thinking about us. Now I'm going to be talking back. I'm going to go backwards and forwards on the offer, because I believe it's not enough. There's other things. I've got to try and get a little bit more into more of a solid example, but this is kind of where I'm going with the offer. If it will load. No, wrong one. And we've already gone through it. So basically it's Pillar 1, which is the authority, and I'm still developing this, and I still feel we need to work on this. So what I'll do is I will come back to this developed offer, so it's absolutely finite, but at the moment it's a mixture of media buying, it's impact story, brand story with 2 trailers, and then I'm hypothesizing, right? And I'm hypothesizing based on my research and based on some of the things that I've talked to and some of my experience. And this is how I start to develop my bridge offer, okay, or the thing that I'm going to have the most impact on. So one is a case, it could be 2 case studies. The volume is irrelevant to me. It's the outcome for the client. I don't care how much is in it. But I'm going to do 1 impact story, 1 brand story with 2 trailers, and then I'm going to do about 20 to 30 probably cut off clips that's going to be ran for about a 90-day sprint. Then I'm going to do 2 or 3, 6, maybe 6 ads. I'm going to throw that in there, and I'm going to do a 90-day sprint on a media buying run, okay, so that they can run ads, get attention, and then use these assets as their consideration process, so that they're basically in that consideration process when they're about to make the sale. that helps their sales team or them be able to close better deals. Okay, because they need proof and they need status. They need status, but they need differentiation. And they're going to need multiple different angles from this. And so that's what I'm going to offer to these consultants. Okay. Now, key takeaways are simple. Your package must be bundled, deliverable into solutions, not a video, but story, clips, ads, distribution. This is just one of the ways to do it. Eliminate risk with clear process and proof. Anchor high so that the 20 to 50 looks like a smart choice compared to the alternatives. Again, you want to be solving a big problem, leaning into their desire, making them feel like you've got them, and having lots of proof and case studies around you as well. We talked about that. The fastest this is something I put in late last night while I was on when I was basically traveling to the next Airbnb. This is probably arguably one of the biggest things you need to be focusing on. Right, I'll put this as green, just so you can. I would write this down and put this on your phone as your screensaver while you're building your business. The biggest valuable statement that you could ever make for a client is that when you want to look back at your offer, just make sure it has this or it feels like this. The fastest impact, and we've looked at impact in the other video, which was speed, reducing risk, high status, and revenue. Ultimately, freedom is the fifth one. That would be considered the impact, the fastest impact of one of them. If you can have more than one of them, great, you're going to do well. Right? But the second part is with as least amount of energy, time, and effort on their end. Okay? Run that down. I could have probably wrote this a lot better and put this into some beautiful Michael Hansen quote, but this is really the baseline of value. The fastest impact with the least amount of energy and time and effort on their end. Okay? Please take that away. Run that through when you're doing your offer. Most filmmakers undercharge because they think like technicians. Premium filmmakers package like strategies. They connect their work to growth, reputation, or risk reduction their clients care about the most. That's all you've got to do. You've got to figure out what they care about and amplify it. Help them with that. This is how you stop selling videos for 2K and start selling outcomes for 20 to 50. And look, don't get fixated on the 20 to 50. Like, it could be another zero. It could be 200 to 500. I mean, it's not uncommon for a brand that's doing well to invest in their visual storytelling. Okay? All right. In the next video, day 5, I'll be showing you how I'm setting up my website and socials to create true omnipresence so my offer lives everywhere my clients look. It'll also be helping you with perceived value, checking everything out so everything is very clear, precise, to the point, specific person to specific problem to specific solution. And then I'm going to be showing you all that.